Hi, this is Susan Michel. I am here in Western Massachusetts. It is great to be here as always. I am the author of Surrender to Joy, From Suicide to Serenity. I teach the transformational truth of A Course in Miracles, which we are all here to study, to learn, to embody the knowledge of. And I have my good friend and soul sister here with me today. She's in Boca Raton, Florida. Myrna Skoller is the author of Private Lessons with Jesus, which is a great companion to the Course in Miracles workbook for students. She has always also written numerous other books. How are you today, Myrna?
Just great. I was talking about you, in fact, and to my daughter. I had a wonderful weekend. My daughter came to visit, and I was telling her all about how you and I had begun and how we sort of grew together through the years after all these years, and how we ended up speaking with one another on Gather. And I was just telling her, how much I enjoy you and that you definitely are my soul sister. I like that term. It definitely resonates. So I'm feeling really good. She just left a little while ago, but she brought incense, just a piece of wood that you light it. It kind of releases incense. And another thing, a wish paper, you light it up and you make a wish and it goes into the air. I mean, I really, and I also went to a yoga class with her, by the way, and it was called Sound Bath. That was also very interesting. Anyway, so
Yeah, I love the spirituality behind yoga. I'm not great at yoga itself because I'm not very flexible. I mean, I think it's really, really good for your body, but I'm just not super flexible. But whenever the instructors talk about spirituality and love, and I love everything that yoga represents.
yeah, well, this way, I don't like positions either that are hard to get into, but this aspect of yoga was interesting. You lie there on a mat, literally dark in the room, and they play these sounds, and these sounds are really hypnotizing. I mean, it was really an experience. And she said you're going to go home and sleep very well after this, and I sure did. So it's called Sound Bath.
Interesting. Well, I know it's great for your body because whenever I have any kind of back problem, which sometimes I do, and I take a yoga class, it really alleviates the pain in my back. So I know it's really beneficial. It's good for you. That sounds like a great experience, especially to go with your daughter. So I will start with the introduction of my book, as I usually do. What I write in the introduction of my book, Surrender to Joy, is my passion is God. God is love and joy and beauty. He is all that is good in the world. Everything else is our own miscreation. When we are filled with joy, we are connected to God. When we are not joyful, we have lost our connection to all that is real. This is my message. It can be clarified with three simple words: surrender to joy. There is nothing to find. All we need to do is surrender. So it's really all about, in my mind, surrendering to a power greater than ourself, but power that we are a part of. And that power is what I would call God, what Course in Miracles calls God. It's just this entity of unconditional love. And it teaches throughout A Course in Miracles that the fastest way to connect to source energy is through forgiveness. And when we are able to forgive our brother, forgive external circumstance, accept everything in our life exactly as it is, we are able to align our mind with the thoughts of God, which is the only thing that can ever make us happy. Now, Lynn is just so wonderful. Every morning, she sends us the Course in Miracles workbook lesson of the day. And thank you so much, Lynn, for doing that. Maybe that's what I will start with today. So today we are on lesson 82. It's a review lesson. And the first line is a review of lesson 63, which states, "The light of the world brings peace to every mind through my forgiveness." So it is through forgiveness that we can access the truth of who we are. When we hold on to grievances of any kind, when we hold on to resentments of any kind, when we hold on to unforgiveness or angst of any kind, we can't align ourselves with the truth of who we are. And the second review lesson in lesson 82 is lesson 64. Let me not forget my function. So this line states, this section states, I would not forget my function because I would remember myself. I cannot fulfill my function if I forget it. And unless I fulfill my function, I will not experience the joy that God intends for me. So, just like I state in the introduction of my book, when we are filled with joy, we are able to remember the truth of who we are. When we are filled with joy, we are able to be a conduit for God's divine love because God lives in a state of unconditional love and unconditional joy. So, in order for us to feel the truth of who we are, we have to allow that joy to enter our mind, to enter our heart. And in a way, there is a daily discipline involved, to focus upon the love and release the resentment and the grievances. And you're very good at that, Myrna. You talk to Jesus all day long, and you have such a wonderful relationship with him. And so, what do you think?
Yes, that's a very integral part of me and who I am. Uh, to have become acquainted with Jesus in a sense that I absolutely connect to his presence. And it's something that really developed through the years. And it's something I can't even explain because uh, I can only feel it. And in feeling it, I can say that that is a sense that I'm protected, I'm loved, there's only now. There's no other place other than to be in the now and to be focused on the present moment where our happiness exists. And today what I was reading lesson 83. I could have been off a day. I didn't know. I thought today's lesson was 83. And my only function is the one God gave me. And I was reading that earlier and where it says my happiness and my function are one. I think this lesson really invites us to reflect on the unity that we have with God, with Jesus, with Holy Spirit. You can name it anything. It's the feeling that comes about that gives it reality. And that when I reflect on my true purpose, which is real happiness, it emphasizes so much for me that embracing the function assigned by God. And what is that function? You know, we have to live the function. We have one function. And I think that to somebody hearing that for the first time would think that's a very complicated, tall order, but it really isn't, because the only function God assigned to me as forgiveness and healing, and which absolutely forgiveness, that's the number one priority, and that truly leads to joy and peace. That's the only way to get there. So there's really only one route to take. It's not complicated at all, and it's just a matter of understanding that my happiness and my function are one. Why wouldn't I be overjoyed understand and uh, to recognize that that my happiness and my function are one. I mean, why wouldn't I want to be happy? Why wouldn't the greatest function I could experience would be my happiness, which comes from love? And we're really encouraged to reflect on the idea that my true purpose and my true happiness is just one and the same. And I think about that, and it just makes me see that I really want to fulfill the function assigned by God, the one that God gave me. And that, and that again, the Course teaches in order to get there, in order to experience peace and happiness and forgiveness, we have to first let go of judgments, and when we can let go of judgment, then we can first begin to understand what forgiveness is, because we're not really holding anybody hostage or bound to our grievances, and we recognize how much we truly share with others, and we fulfill our true function and experience genuine happiness and inner peace. And there's nothing that can be traded off for that, the inner peace, for something greater. There's nothing greater than that. So I turn it back to you, Susan.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Today's lesson of the year is lesson 83. And all the lessons are good. If you get to the core of any one lesson, you can really feel the truth of who you are. And A Course in Miracles tells us that we think we are unhappy for different reasons. So if we're going by what's happening in the world, we can always find a reason for angst. But the worldly reasons don't really matter. The only thing can uh, cause uh, that can cause stress, that can cause anxiety, that can cause um, us to be upset is the fact that we are separated from God. That is the only reason that we can feel out of alignment. So, lesson 83 that you brought up has two parts, like all the review lessons do in this section. The first is my only function is the one God gave me. And this I have no function but the one God gave me. This recognition releases me from all conflict because it means I cannot have conflicting goals. So we need to be clear that the only thing that's real important to us, is feeling connected to source energy, feeling connected to the truth of who we are. That's the only thing that can give us the peace that we are searching for. Then the second part of lesson 83 states that my happiness and my function are one. All things that come from God are one. They come from oneness and must be received as one. So when I am happy, then I am more able to be a conduit for God's divine love. So it's important to focus on those ideas as often as possible throughout the day. And yeah, yeah, and it definitely is a daily discipline, it's a daily discipline to focus on love. Um, what do you think, Myrna?
Yeah, it's just a wonderful feeling. It's just a wonderful feeling to just recognize that our function and our love, and our happiness are really tied in. And so, what would anybody want to complain about when it comes to something as basic and providing the feeling that we're fulfilling our purpose and which naturally leads to true joy. So when I embrace forgiveness and see through the eyes of love, I step into my function. And that is very effortless when we think about it. It's just such a simple thing to once we see it and live it, we realize it's such a great assignment. We don't carry the burdens of angst, like you said, or of unhappiness, or unwilling to give a little bit. I love the line, would you rather be right or happy? Dove uses that line a lot. Would you rather be light or happy? Would you rather be right or happy? And so what is the choice? It's funny. I asked Pat, my boyfriend, that question: would you rather be right or happy? We weren't arguing about anything. It was just a philosophical question that I presented to him. And he said, of course, I'd rather be happy. I'd rather be happy. Yes, happy. There's only one answer to that, and I left because there is no other answer. That is truly what we all aim for. And sometimes we just have to wipe away the grievances and all the debris that prevents us from truly seeing through the eyes of love. And that through true forgiveness, not just partial forgiveness, but uh, true forgiveness is to truly let go and not even, for me, when I truly forgive, I don't even remember what the problem was. I really do not. I just don't even, can't even remember it. And so then you get to see the other person through the art through a different lens, and that's the act of letting go of all judgments and grievances and recognizing that what seems to have been done to us has truly not harmed us at all, has not harmed the true self. Nothing could harm that. And instead of seeing others as guilty or holding on to their past wrongs, um, we learn that forgiveness is a shift in this perception. The forgiveness takes us away from holding on to past wrongs and seeing with the eyes of love and understanding. And everyone shares that same innocence that's beneath those apparent mistakes. Everybody has the same innocence when we think about it. That's why God loves everybody the same, because underneath that uh, 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 facade, okay, is the true self, is uh, the true kind of self we truly are. The true self. That's the self that is so pure and so void of any type of harmful behavior. And we recognize instead that in truth there's nothing to forgive, really, because only love is real. So when we recognize there's really nothing to forgive and that only love is the only real thing, then then there's nothing else to even think about. So then we begin to explore what the true meaning of love is and how it makes us feel. And you mentioned that, yes, my connection to Jesus so wonderful because that's all I ever feel. All I ever feel is that he's showing me his love. And I feel it. My body reacts to that. Sometimes my body will literally start vibrating when I have when I'm in discussion or thinking about of him, and the beauty that he bestows to the world, really. And we're all in the world. And if we can be in the world, as the course says, instead of the world, then we have it made. Right, Susan?
Yeah, yeah, that's absolutely right. Forgiveness is a shift in perception, just like you said. When we hold on to unforgiveness, we are seeing our brother through the eyes of the ego. And, sometimes that's what our ego really wants to do. I mean, I don't know. It's difficult sometimes. It's just difficult sometimes to forgive someone who we really feel has wronged us. It's very, very difficult. So that's why I think it's so important for me to pray and to ask Jesus, to ask the Holy Spirit, to ask God, to ask the power of love to help me. Um, because it's challenging. It's just very, very challenging. But when we do hold on to that unforgiveness, when we do hold on to that guilt, we can feel, like we're in the world because that is what the world teaches. When we can truly forgive our brother, what we're doing is we're really forgiving a part of ourselves because God has but one son and we're all part of that sonship. So when we can truly forgive our brother, we are uh, realigning our mind with the essence of innocence. I just love that affirmation. I embody the essence of innocence because when we can forgive our brother, then we can really feel the truth of who we are. But it's difficult. It is very difficult. I mean, many of the Course in Miracles lessons encourage us to pick a specific person that we feel resentful towards and focusing on forgiving that person in order to free ourselves. I personally am still having a difficult time forgiving this one family member. Um, it's very, very challenging. And I feel very hurt by her actions towards me. So I think sometimes I can feel forgiveness towards her, sometimes I can, but I think most of the time when I can feel this forgiveness, it's when I ask Jesus or ask a higher consciousness for help because it is very, very challenging, But here I asked ChatGPT a little bit more about forgiveness. And basically, I like ChatGPT's thoughts about this. It writes ACIM teaches that forgiveness is about recognizing that what you thought happened didn't actually occur in the way you believe it did. Because the world of separation, attack, and guilt is ultimately an illusion created by the ego. I think when we do encounter challenges, emotional challenges in this earthly classroom. It is providing us with skills that our soul needs to learn. It's the challenges that we encounter here in this earthly classroom are teaching us skills that we need to know in order to grow. I remember reading this beautiful book years ago when I was living in Miami, Florida, and it gave this analogy about two souls that were here on earth. I think this one particular book wrote about a son who got mad at his father. So here on earth, a son got mad at his earthly father. And through the latter years of the father's life, the father begged his son to come and visit him, and the son refused. And then the father died without talking to his son for the last 20 years of his life. So it appears as though their relationship was extremely difficult and kind of a failure. But then what ultimately happened is the son passed away as well. And then years later, it went into the heavenly realm, and the two souls crossed path, in heaven. And they looked at each other, they smiled, they gave each other a big hug, and, gave each other a warm welcome. How are you? And then they laughed about what happened here on earth. And then they chuckled, we'll have to try again sometime. Maybe next time we'll get it right. And then they laughed and they hugged, and it was all good. So even though they never made amends here on earth, once they got up to heaven, they realized that only the love was real. So, here what we're encountering, they're lessons. And I think it was Ruby. Is that the man that said the enlightened master, or the guru that said there is no right, there is no wrong, there is no good, there is no bad. It's love and forgiveness is um, the only way of seeing life that will ever make us happy. But sometimes I guess here on earth it can get a little challenging. So I think for me, it's all about meditation in the morning, which I haven't done in the past couple mornings, which is maybe why I'm feeling a little off center today. But when we can love, when we can see beyond what appears to be happening, when we can focus on the innocence in our brother, when we can focus on the truth and the love and the joy, when we can trust. Trust is an acronym for to rely upon spirit totally. It's about trusting, and it's about accepting our circumstances exactly as they are. Thoughts, Myrna?
Yeah, we were talking about these two souls meeting in heaven. And Rob Schwartz, what he does, that's exactly what he studies. He will hypnotize, he has these hypnotizing workshops actually, and I've taken one or two of them, and he takes you into your past. And he was advertising one of his hypnosis posts, and I made I copied it, and I'm going to read it right now because it may just apply. And this is what it says. There is a moment, I'm reading it now, I just put it up on my computer. After betrayal, where your soul whispers, why did this happen to me? What if the question isn't, why did this happen to me, but what your soul is ready to see, release, and become? What if experiences like betrayal aren't just painful moments, but part of a deeper unfolding guiding? you into greater awareness, trust, self-trust, and a version of you that no longer abandons yourself. Over the course of this episode, I explore the idea that even life's most challenging experiences can serve a higher purpose, initiating you into growth, healing, and transformation in ways you may not yet fully see. If you've been going through something that's shaken your identity or made you question, then this is for you. And he goes on to explain that. I wasn't able to take it this weekend, this particular hypnosis workshop that he had, because I was with my daughter. But that's really what it uncovers, when you go into that state and you really, it's a state of self discovery. And exactly, maybe the experience that you're having with this family member is something that you really need to learn from, and that's why it keeps appearing over and over again, because it's something you have to learn. It's something that's really intended to build on your higher purpose, and that's what we're always climbing to a higher purpose. We're always aiming, well, the soul really needs to constantly learn and prepare itself for, higher learning and higher awareness. And so perhaps whatever experiences that we have that don't appear to be pleasant in any way, that seem painful, in fact, are really places for us to more explore and see what we're supposed to learn from it. And I think that unless we learn what it is that it's trying to teach us, we're not going to experience anything other than this thing that keeps appearing, that is all in the it's trying to enrapture us in what the truth of the experience really is. And I think maybe it's just something that I just got at the moment when you had, mentioned that experience that you're having. It was very timely, because that's what I got from that thing that I read about that post of his. Forgiveness is such a central practice and achieving inner peace, and spiritual growth. I think it's all about forgiveness. And you're right, it's very hard to forgive a wrongdoing, but that's what you have to do. Maybe that's what you have to really come to terms with. You've got to just forgive it. And it's not about excusing this wrongdoing or condoning any harmful actions that seem to be, aimed at you, but rather by recognizing that the shared innocence, which is what you both have, your innocence is really shared, and that kind of is beneath the illusion and the separation and the conflict. So it's really innocence that you both have. You're both completely innocent. You're innocent souls, and the course is forever trying to teach us that. So by forgiving someone else, I think you also forgive yourself, and it kind of releases the grip of the ego, on its judgments, and allows love and healing to flow more freely. Right, Susan?
Right, Myrna. Right, Myrna. I love what Rob Schwartz teaches. I mean, I know you know his work so much better than I do, but from what you've told me about him, from what he shared right here in Gather, because he came on with us, before, which was really, really an interesting talk. But he specializes in between lives regression. So what he speaks about is how we choose what lessons we are going to learn prior to coming down into this earthly classroom, and taking on these earthly bodies. So we choose on a soul level the lessons that we need to learn. And many times we set up challenging situations for ourselves, even before we come down here, because we know that we will learn what our soul needs to learn through these challenges. I love that saying that I have a tendency to recite quite often. We don't grow despite life's challenges. We grow because of life's challenges. We need life's challenges in order to learn what we came down to this earthly classroom to learn. And as Dove so often says, our triggers are our teachers, because when life triggers us, those inner pain points that need to be healed come to the surface so healing can occur. But I mean, really, it's about taking responsibility for everything that happens in our lives. I mean, A Course in Miracles is also telling us that we are creating our lives at each and every moment. So we are never, ever a victim of circumstances, because we are creating the circumstances that we are being confronted with. We are creating the circumstances that we are experiencing. And that just makes so much sense. And Sora wrote a lot of insightful messages here in the chat room that I will read. Thank you, Sora, for sharing. Sora wrote, if someone, oh, when I was talking about me being a victim of what this family member is doing to me, or how this grievance is hard for me to overcome, Sora wrote, if someone or something outside myself would change, I believe, I would be happy. If someone or something outside myself was different, I would be happy. Yeah, if someone or something outside of myself would change, I would be happy. And then Sora wrote, acceptance, patience, and tolerance. Ooh, I like that. Our teacher, Paul Steinberg, years ago said the same thing. Oh, and Carolyn Miss talks about sacred betrayals. I'm not familiar with Paul Steinberg, but I am familiar with Carolyn Miss, and I know she's wonderful. I'll have to Google Paul Steinberg and find out more about him. So thank you for sharing that. I mean, there's so much truth out there. I mean, I love the analogy that Course in Miracles makes about us being the creator of our life. All thought creates form on some level. So when life is playing out in a way that we wish were different, instead of going to the external world and trying to change the situation, what we need to do is we need to go within, to the projector, and change what's going on in our internal world. It's like life is a movie, and we are creating that movie. So if something is if there's like some kind of interference in the movie screen, it's not about going to the screen and changing the screen. It's about going to the projector and clearing off the projector. So again, that's what we need to do. If something is playing out in our life that isn't playing out, exactly as we would want it to, it's about going inside and finding out what we need to realign within ourself, so we can experience life from a place of love. It's really, it's about stilling the mind. It's about connecting with love. I mean, I say the truth is very simple. I like that word, simple. The truth is very simple. It's not easy, because the world is run on the egoic thought system. There is so much drama in the world today. It's unbelievable how much drama is in the world today because the world is run, on the dynamics of the ego. But the truth is simple. I mean, what is the truth? As I end each talk with each week, nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. The only thing that's real is the love. So when we can find the love within ourselves, we will see that naturally we will go into the world and we will release judgment. We will release condemnation, and we will extend naturally that love that we have within. We will extend that love naturally to our brother, and that's where we will find the peace that our soul is craving. Right, Myrna?
Yeah, you speak of the ego. The A Course in Miracles speaks. The ego is so much part of A Course in Miracles because it helps us differentiate the difference between the true mind, the real mind, and the other part of the mind, the ego part of the mind. And, according to A Course in Miracles, the ego is the part of the mind that believes in separation from others and from God. So we're in that part of the mind that knows nothing of our true nature. And because we know nothing of our true nature, we're just rooted in the ego's dictates and thought system, then we're in fear. And, and that's an illusion. And it's just what it is. Fear is an illusion. The only thing that's real is love. So everything else outside of love is an illusion. So we're living in the illusion by emphasizing that we're individuals, that we're apart from each other, and then we look at the conflict, and it causes judgment, and it only gets us deeper and deeper into this part of the mind that really is not there to help us. It's just there. It's just its belief system is very strange. It's creates an obstacle to true peace and happiness. It just does, because it encourages the Course then encourages us to now shift from that ego mind to the guidance of the inner spirit. And then we foster love and unity and all the wonderful feelings that are joined, that are into the love nest, so to speak.
Mhm.
And the Course continues to emphasize that forgiveness is just the central practice, really. And that's really what it is, to focus on that more than anything. And the ego is just a false self that's constructed from beliefs in limitation and scarcity and vulnerability, all bad things, really. When you want to, well, there's nothing bad or good. When I say bad, I mean bad to me is the opposite of good, and good is when I'm feeling peaceful and happy and loving my brothers with no breaks in that recognition that that's really all I want to be, and that's how I want to feel, that love. And the ego is constantly seeking validation. And yes, you want validation from other people. Yes, isn't that person bad? Isn't that a terrible thing that happened to me? The ego loves to reinforce that idea, and but that comes from outside of ourselves. The ego thrives on this conflict, and often leads to feelings of guilt, and we go into guilt and anxiety and defensiveness, and a whole crop of other things come up that is not aligned with who we truly are. And it takes away from the happiness that we're so free to keep if we want to keep. We just have to learn how to do it. It's not easy, but it is what it is. It can be done.
Yes, it can be done with practice, and that's what A Course in Miracles is teaching us to do. And then Sora wrote in the chat room that Paul was one of the first teachers of ACIM. And again, I'm going to look into him. He sounds really amazing. And then Sora said he passed. Um, yeah, and then I went into ChatGPT really quickly to do a little research. And they said that he is one of the first speakers of A Course in Miracles. He led study groups and workshops. He explained its ideas, especially forgiveness, in more practical, everyday terms. And he emphasized the psychological and experiential side of the course rather than just theory. I mean, A Course in Miracles is really amazing, when it talks about um, our purpose, the meaning of life. And I think what most Course in Miracles students do, like myself, is first you study it and you start to intellectually understand it. But then, as you so often say, Myrna, you know, intellectual understanding is the booby prize. I think that's how you phrase it, because you don't really feel the benefits of A Course in Miracles until you live it. Once you can really live A Course in Miracles, you can understand how transformative it is. Ken Wapnick used to say that basically the whole um, everything behind A Course in Miracles is really all about just being kind, being loving, being kind. And that love definitely has to start from within. It's really important, I think, to love ourselves and be kind to ourselves and treat ourselves with compassion. It's important, I believe, to listen to our inner dialogue and speak kindly to ourselves and to forgive ourselves and to forgive any mistakes that we might make along the way. Because once we can love ourselves, it's like the mind is all encompassing. As we speak about ourselves, we speak about other people. It's Course in Miracles says, don't, to avoid God's judgment, stop judging yourself. Because when we judge ourselves, we automatically judge others. The mind is all encompassing. So what we need to do is we need to accept ourselves totally and unconditionally, and then naturally we will extend that compassion to our brothers and start accepting them totally and completely and unconditionally. And again, it is a discipline, but when we can just embody that love that A Course in Miracles is teaching us is the essence of who we are going to naturally extend that love to our brothers. And when we search for the love, we will find that love in the world. When we are looking for love, we are going to see that love. We are going to see that love in children. We are going to see that love in animals. I had a friend of mine that once said, the three things that naturally just embrace their innocence are children, animals, and nature, because they just live this timeless experience. They just are who they are. And when we are looking for love, we're going to find that love. I know when I'm out and about, and I'm feeling like I am in my right mind, I'm always very drawn to children because they're just so real, they're just so authentic, they're just so loving, and they're just so cute. And we all have a childlike innocence within us, when we just kind of release that egoic facade and we just step into the truth of who we are. I mean, we are all so beautiful and so brilliant. A Course in Miracles tells us that it cannot teach us the meaning of love because love is who and what we are. Love is our natural essence. What A Course in Miracles can do is it can teach us to identify the blocks to love. So when the blocks to love arise, we can choose to let them go, and as you were saying, Myrna, when we experience these challenges, when we experience betrayal, when we experience abandonment, when we experience the issues that sometimes confront us in life, this helps us to recognize the wounds in our unconscious mind so we can release them and get closer to the love on the other side. And then we have another chat in the chat room from Sora. You said, long time ago, Paul Steinberg worked with Betty Martin. I'm glad he is remembered on the net. Okay, so these are all some people that I'm going to have to Google because I'm not familiar with Betty Martin either. Have you ever heard of Paul Steinberg or Betty Martin, Myrna?
I haven't. No, I heard of Werner Erhard when you said understanding is the booby prize. I think he coined that phrase. He started the S training. I think it was in the 1980s when it first started. It was the first of its kind, really, and it focused on personal transformation and self-awareness. Taking responsibility for our own life by breaking through all the limiting beliefs and experiencing a self completion and wholeness. And I know all this because I didn't take the S training. My friend Gloria did. And she would say, she coined a phrase herself. She says, you know what? Some of these people are S-holes, S-holes, that they don't even know anything. They don't know what they're talking about. They were, and that's how she kind of um, coined that phrase. I thought that was pretty funny. But sometimes I talk to Duff about that. Uh, we've had discussions about S because I think Dove took the S training. Anyway, it was just the beginning. I think it was just uh, first coming, the spiritual revolution, I think really kind of started with Est. So anyway, but yeah.
Yeah, I didn't take AST. I did take the Landmark Forum,
Mhm.
but I didn't take AST. But it seems like there's some really good practices that you can learn from AST. I think a lot of people might have found A Course in Miracles through AST. So, there's things you can learn from everything.
Right.
Um,
We learn from everything. We learn from each other. We learn from everything. We learn from our experiences. Hopefully, we learn from that they're not in vain and that we do take something away from those experiences that give us personal growth, greater growth. And you and I use that phrase all the time. It's a lesson or a blessing, everything. So sometimes
I
it's
know, I know. Everything in life is a lesson or a blessing. The blessings are fun, and the lessons sometimes are more valuable because they turn into blessings when we learn the lessons, just like this challenge I'm facing with this family member, it will turn into a blessing because I know there's something in me that's being uncovered because of this challenging situation, and I am grateful for it. And then in the chat room, Sora wrote, S turned into landmark. So that makes sense because I actually did the landmark forum at the Trade Center years ago in New York City. So that was years and years and years ago. And then Dove said that he found ACIM because of EST. And then landmark is the same as EST. Yeah, because there were some good principles that I learned at the Landmark Forum. I didn't love Landmark Forum. I don't know why, I just didn't. Um, but again, different strokes for different folks. And then Sora said Life Spring was the one that she did. So, yeah, well, it's all about self-help. It's all about growth. And thank you for your shares. Thank you for being here with me today, Myrna. I love you so much. And it is now 2:30. And as A Course in Miracles says, nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. The only thing that's real is the love. And tomorrow I think I'm going to meditate because I think it's been too many days since I've meditated. And for me, meditation is so important to bring me back to truth. And on that note, I will now return the microphone to Lynn. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susan and Myrna. And yeah, yeah, it's a habit. So you really have to don't let 3 days go without meditating because you'll develop a habit of not meditating and you'll have excuses for it every day.